For our next keynote, please welcome Sumit Singh, CEO of Chewy. Sumit will be interviewed by Phil Wahba, senior writer at Fortune.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and hi, Sumit. Nice to see you.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
Good. I'm not sure as good as you. You just came off a year. You had your earnings last week. For the first time, Chewy hit the 10 billion in sales benchmark, and you reported a profit, not an adjusted EBITDA profit, but a net income GAAP profit. So bravo for that, because that's pretty rare in e-commerce. But we'll get to that later. But before we launch into our discussion, the most pressing question I have is, how's your Shih Tzu D doing?
D is doing great. I don't know if you all can see, but the picture in front of you is my Shih Tzu D. And he's 9 years old, and he's great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, Dee's really rocking a great hairstyle there. So anyway, let's talk about macro issues. The pandemic puppy boom is over, it's receded. That doesn't mean Americans love their dogs any less, but of course there was a boom that really helped you and others in the pet space. But what are you seeing now in terms of shopping patterns among pet owners, or as you like to call them, pet parents?
Yeah, sure. So, Phil, we have 90 million American households with pets. And even before the pandemic, the current towards online shopping was really strong. And what the pandemic did was it brought in the high tide. And so clearly acceleration towards the e-com platform, it accelerated adoption towards e-com platform. And now, as the economy is opening up, we're seeing, a little bit of the tide revert back. But I can tell you that, prior to the pandemic, when you look at 2014-15, year 2014-15, roughly 14-15% of pet was on e-commerce. And coming out of the pandemic, between 25 and 30% of pet is on e-com. We expect to be roughly half of e-com penetrated over the next 5 years. And so the current's strong. People love the convenience of a platform like Chewy. They love the personalized service that we provide, and when you can match these two, the scale and convenience of e-com with the personalized service that we provide, which you expect out of the best local neighborhood pet stores, it just drives a value proposition that is super strong.
So let's talk a little bit about how people are spending. I'm wondering if there are any parallels with, we'll call it human retail, where some people trade down in tougher, more uncertain times. There's sort of the middle being hollowed out and, say, apparel retail or home goods retail. Are you seeing some people saying, I still need a leash, I still need a cute jacket for the dog, but they might not be getting something as pricey as they did 2 years ago? And conversely, are people saying, you can't take it with you, the end of the world is coming, so I'm going to get my dog a Montclair coat? And I've seen a dog in a Montclair coat in Central Park 3 weeks ago.
The beauty of being in pet, and the audience likely will resonate with this, pet is the only category in the world where customers outside of baby refer to themselves as pet parents. And so what that tells you is that the category is emotive. And when a certain category is emotive, it's also generally beyond kind of recession, inflation trends. So, it's not recession-proof, but it is recession-resilient. And what we're seeing is that consumables and health, which are non-discretionary categories, continue to be pillars of strength. And discretionary categories, particularly that third toy that people were adding, or the fourth, leash, because the color was just not right on the first one. Yes, I believe people are pulling back on that a little bit. But the core input that it is tied to is number of pet-forming households, which right now is a little bit stunted given kind of the macroeconomy. But when you look at the last recession in 2007-8 timeframe, overall spending decreased by 2%. Pet spending went up 6% during that time. And this is going to be no different. We are in a bit of a cycle. As these inputs improve, we expect discretionary spending to come back. On the flip side, we haven't seen any trade downs, which tells you that pet parents will not make trades for their pets because we treat our pets as family.
Now, let's talk a little bit about food. Are you seeing some people trade down more to kibble? Are we seeing income inequality also affecting pet spending?
It's actually the other way around. If you look pre-pandemic, so humanization in pet, which basically is a fancy word for saying that 30 years ago the pet was out on the porch, now they're on your bed. Right? So humanization in pet has driven premiumization of assortment. And as it comes to food, pre-pandemic, these niche categories of fresh, frozen, raw, dehydrated, etc., were barely catching on. And we've seen this, by the way, if you go outside of pet, I was just listening to another speaker talk about how luxury spend has increased, during the pandemic at a massive level. And so that same's been true for pet. Fresh and frozen food as a category has exploded. And so in many ways, people are actually trading out of their kibble into these more premiumized food because the orientation there is health and longevity. So pet parents are closely monitoring trends that will provide longevity, and if that is true, then ASP isn't a consideration.
So what's the path for continued sales growth for you? Is it you get, 75-80% of your sale is like auto order? Is the, your trajectory, do you continue by getting primarily more sales from existing customers, or is there still a big white space?
Yeah, it's a great question. When you break down the inputs of what drives our revenue flywheel, it's both. It's customer acquisition and, of course, customer retention, but it's also improving share of wallet of customers that we bring onto the platform. There is, as I started out by saying, nearly 90 million US pet-owning households, and we are roughly just under 21 million, so about 25% penetrated. So we have a lot of room in front of us to grow. At the same time, at Chewy, what's interesting is that pet parents cross-shop, and this is true for any retailer, they'll cross-shop the first year or two, but starting year 3, they rapidly start consolidating their basket sizes over towards Chewy. And it's our proposition of going to market with the broadest assortment, providing tremendous level of personalized service behind it. We're a retailer or e-tailer who really cares about delivering the right type of experience. And it's you should expect to be greeted by your name. We remember your pet. We remember their birthdays. We lead the market in what we call surprise and delight mechanisms in the way that we reach out to pet parents. And all of that drives loyalty. Customers tell us that coming to Chewy is like going to Disney, where it doesn't matter when you were a kid or when you've grown up. When you go back, you have that same consistent great experience that fuels, that drives back these positive memories, fuels repeat purchases, and that loyalty is what drives our flywheel. So when you look at pet, overall pet is about a $120 billion TAM in the United States, and we are $10 billion off that 120. So whether it's coming at it from a customer penetration angle, whether it's coming at it from an overall market angle, whether it's coming at it from share of wallet, our share of wallet right now is about $500. As a retailer, we can boast the highest share of wallet from any retailer in the pet category, and still you can see it's about 40% of the overall share of wallet that a pet parent can spend.
Let's talk a bit about health, because obviously in the categories you've traditionally sold, there's auto orders, some of it can be seen as a commodity, so now you're going very strong into health. What's the opportunity you see there, and do you think people are going to end up spending as much proportionally on their pets as they do on themselves for health-wise?
Yeah, there's a lot that we're proud of at Chewy, and innovating to connect the dots across a pet parent's life cycle or journey is something that we are tremendously proud of. Our mission is to be the most trusted, convenient destination for pet parents and partners everywhere. And so this notion of being a destination essentially recognizes the fact that there's more to a pet parent's life or a pet's life than just food and supplies. When you look at it from commerce terms, of the $120 billion pet categories that I was talking about, $40 billion is health, which is growing at 2 times the rate of food and supplies. So sure enough, 4 years ago, we doubled down on us being one of the leading health providers. But in the mission statement also is the word destination for partners. Because just like it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to raise a pet. And so we said, okay, there's nobody out there that's developing a value proposition for, in this particular case, veterinarians, because you asked the question about health. So we are on a mission to making pet healthcare affordable and accessible for pet parents, and at the same time developing solutions and services that can improve customer retention for veterinarians, lower the cost to serve, improve cash flow needs. And we're early in the journey, but we're super excited about what's to come.
Your two large brick and mortar retailers have also competitors have been really focused on healthcare too, and I'm just wondering, they have stores and you don't. So how do you go about overcoming? That's obviously an asset for them. So what's your strategy for not needing hundreds of stores?
I love that question. When you look at the inputs of pet health, let's come at it from the veterinarian side. Vet capacity is going to underrun vet demand over the next 3 to 5 years. There just aren't going to be enough veterinarians. And you cannot produce enough veterinarians in the time that we will require veterinarians to come online. So every time a category has been on this precipice of booming, which is tremendous for the industry and for customers, it is technology that has led that transformation. And we are an experience-led company, or we'd like to think of ourselves as an experience-led company on the back of product and technology. A prime example of that is during the pandemic, when the world was shut down, so to say, customers were at home, obviously in need of veterinarians for their pets. Veterinarians were in lockdown mode, not being able to see their pets. We listened to this, and pet telehealth, which was nowhere on the roadmap for the next 5 years, got pulled into ours, and we delivered the first telehealth solution into the marketplace in a period of 90 days. And over the next 6 months, we then converted it into one of the best-serving telehealth platforms in the market. Now, right now, we're a little bit ahead of the market as it comes to serving or seeing pets. But imagine a technology enabler like telehealth. It can help effective triage, because more than a third of the traffic that goes into veterinarians is unqualified traffic. It's call it false alarms. My dog ate a chocolate, what should I do? And by the way, most of those happen for you on a Saturday evening at 9 p.m. It's true. Yeah. Where do you go? You call us. If you're a Chewy customer, you will be greeted by a vet or a vet tech, along with one of the most scaled advanced pet telehealth platforms that exists out there, and we built it. So I think there is a way of delivering experience, of connecting the customer and the service provider in a manner that is completely value-added. Now, on the other side, we're an e-com provider. We can service 80% of our customers in less than 1 day. We service 100% of our customers in less than 2 days. Pet, for the most part, is a planned purchase. Yes, there's a cohort of customers who wake up and say, oh, shoot, I need my cat litter delivered in the next 2 hours. But for the most part, a proposition that delivers reliably, predictably, consistently, which is why over 73% of our sales goes through a quasi-subscription program called AutoShip. Oh. And so I believe we have a competitive advantage as it comes to serving customers reliably at a lower cost structure, because we can effectively lower our prices and pass that value on to consumers, which a lot of the retail environment cannot right now.
I want to ask you a little bit about the role of pet insurance. I feel like pet insurance has been an area that's been poised to explode for a long time and hasn't really. And I guess I was thinking that last week. A very dear friend of mine, her incredibly cute white cat, unfortunately, is having a second bout of cancer, and she was telling me all the surgeries and the things costing $7,000, $8,000, and the insurance was crap and all that. So I'm just wondering, sorry, inadequate. We'll keep our language clean. What's your thought on insurance? Is that an area where you can play, but also generally is the purchasing insurance increasing to the point where people feel more comfortable getting pricier health services for their animal?
Yeah, this is a really interesting space. The US leads the market or leads the world in many innovations. As it comes to insurance, we are underpenetrated relative to the rest of the world. And what I mean by that is, insurance as a vertical, pet insurance as a vertical, is penetrated sub 3% in the United States. UK is plus 20%, New Zealand, Australia is plus 25%, Europe somewhere in the middle. And so what is it about the pet insurance vertical that it hasn't been commercialized yet in a country like the United States? And I think we really have to go after the inputs there. And so whether it's the availability of products that appeal to customers, or whether it's the consideration within a customer's mind to essentially consider insurance at the point that they're adopting a pet or bringing home a pet, I think it's a bit of both. And so with that in mind, we felt, hey, we have relationships with 21 million customers. If we partnered with the best insurance providers, curated the product in a manner which is bespoke to Chewy, because we work from customers backwards, we felt that if we brought a product to life and then put our personalized service on the back of it, we might just have a commercialization model that the world hasn't, that at least America hasn't seen yet. And so, we're early in this journey. We are, with Trupanion, which is one of the best providers out there. We have announced a partnership with Lemonade, which is also a leading provider out there, who go to market on the back of their technological prowess. And so this year, we will go to market with 2 leading providers, and we are really bullish and excited about our presence in this category.
So let's talk a little bit about culture, which I think is important for a company to have success. I write about leadership now for Fortune, not just retail, and culture it seems like a fuzzy concept, but it's actually really essential. And when you see how many e-commerce pure plays have floundered, or DTCs that have floundered, and yet you guys have not. So how do you make sure Chewy stays fun for workers without the indiscipline that can happen in those first years where you're growing by 60, 70, 80%? It's a big party until it ends, right? So, I think that was part of why you were brought in, was to bring discipline, and it's paid off. So how do you ensure that working at Chewy is fun, but people don't go off the rails?
Yeah. See, Chewy is the story or the journey of a beautiful startup, becoming a world-class institution. Chewy is an 11-year-old company founded by an incredibly talented founding team, and the company is about 11 years old. I've been at Chewy for about 6 years, CEO for about 5 out of the 6 years, so about half the life of the company. And during that time, we've taken revenue from roughly $2 billion to $10 billion. We've delivered profitability, negative 10% EBITDA margins 5 years ago to positive 3% this year, and we're net income positive. We have 15 fulfillment centers, 25,000 team members across the country, and 21 million active customers who call us their retailer of choice, per se. None of this happens without having the right culture or the right team in place. And this isn't to say that the team now is right and the team previously wasn't. No, we're standing on the shoulders of people who came before us, and people who come after us will be standing on our shoulders. But there's something about the core cultural tenets that as a company scales from being a startup to becoming this world-class institution, which we hope we will become, because this is a journey, you have to preserve. For us, it's customer centricity. We are happy pet parents ourselves, and we come to work, attuned to a mission purpose that we wrote 5 years ago, to be the most trusted, convenient destination for pet parents and partners everywhere. You can find yourself in a mission statement like this if you're a team member. Our strategy is embedded in this mission statement. It's out for competitors to view and follow, and yet the beauty is in the commitment and the discipline of execution behind it. And so I think focus and discipline actually have a lot to do, along with the right people that you hire or you retain inside an organization. And our focus and discipline is evident in the following statement. So 5 years ago, when we wrote the memo, we were preparing the company to be public, which I took the company public in 2019. We said, we will get big fast, but we will also get fit fast. Operating fitness being built into the routines of the organization is extremely important if you have to see results like this. Where do you build fitness? You build fitness in your culture so that you're not complacent as you get big. You build fitness in your culture so that you don't tolerate bureaucracy as you get big. Bureaucracy is different than tolerating coordination tax. As a company scales, coordination tax has to be taken for granted. At the same time, how do you deal with the curse of the matrix without being bureaucratic is the trick. And then finally, how do you actively take cost out without losing the sense for experience? Right? How do you not, and that's, I think we've done well there. We haven't scaled back the customer value proposition or the experience proposition, and at the same time, we've scaled the cost structure by using automation. We've automated a ton out of our processes, out of our fulfillment, supply chain transformation projects, or customer service, that helps agents deliver a better experience without really taking the magic away from them.
Well, and that applies, I think, to physical retail too. I think a lot of companies we read about that I don't need to mention that are struggling cut SG&A, and then stores are understaffed, clothes are not folded, things, so, and then that hurts the image. So it's you have to control costs, but you also can't kill the soul of a place. Right?
It's 100% true. We embarked on a journey 4 years ago. We had, I talked about 15 fulfillment centers. 4 years ago, we had 9. So we've launched 6 in the last 4 years. Actually, we had 7, 4 years ago. So these 7 fulfillment centers were completely manual and not automated. And an automated center costs multiples higher of a manual fulfillment center. We were not profitable. And yet, at that time, it was important for us to bet, to say that, hey, if we invested in the right automation, we will see returns over a period of time. And our automated centers have improved safety, ergonomics. They've lowered costs by, last quarter we shipped 30% of our volume through our automated centers at up to 20% lower cost structure. And it's improved team member experience because team members are not lifting heavy boxes, and we're letting machines or robotics kind of take care of that per se. So this is an example of where investment can deliver experience. At the same time, it can lower your cost structure.
Well, we've run out of time, and lucky for you, I was going to give you a bit of a lecture on the untapped market for cats, which, I think we had a slide here that showed 80% of you have a dog, but only 23% of you have a cat. Why choose? Have both. Anyway, on that note, please join me in thanking Sumit for being here, and thank you very much.
Thank you.